This video contains spoilers for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So before I start, I'm a big Spider-Verse fan. Into the Spider-Verse is my favorite Spider-Man movie after Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, and a lot of that was because of the great fun characters that they introduced in Miles and the other Spider people and the great Spider-Man story. All along with some unique stylized comic booky animation that changed the animation industry. So because of all of this, Across the Spider-Verse was one of my most anticipated movies ever, and for the most part, I do actually think it was a solid follow-up, and it did what a good sequel does, which is expand on the universe and its characters. And technical and animation-wise, they somehow topped the first one, which I didn't think was possible. And of course, this is going to be the second film in a now Spider-Verse trilogy, and I think it does its job well as a middle chapter. Especially with that very clever cliffhanger. Beyond Spider-Verse cannot come soon enough. With all that said, I did have 2 issues with this story personally. My first problem is one that has been talked about before, but seriously, what is up with every single Spider-Man in the Spider Society taking Miguel's side? It seems like all these Spider-Men have lost Uncle Ben or some other loved one, so honestly, it seems like they would take his side and say, yeah, you know what, you're right. If I had a chance to save a loved one, yeah, I would save him too. So I personally think that it should have been a lot more split. Some of the Spider-Men taking Miles' side and some taking Miguel's side. So maybe some chasing Miles that are on Miguel's side and some defending Miles that are on his side. Basically creating a Spider-Man civil war. How much cooler would that have been? But no, instead it just seems like they all blindly take Miguel's side. And to me, that's made worse when you do have some pre-existing Spider-Man in there. Like Spectacular Spider-Man and Spider-Man PS4. It's cool to see them, but I'm assuming that they're all also blindly taking the antagonist side. Now, I get having the Miles and Miguel thing there for conflict, and I do like the discussion online of Miles versus Miguel. All that's good. I just feel like they should have had some Spider-Man relate to Miles a little bit more. And now for my main problem with the film that seems like nobody's talking about. I personally do not care for the plot twist of Miles being an anomaly. That he wasn't supposed to be Spider-Man, he was just bit by a spider from another universe. I kind of feel like it undoes the message of the last movie, which is anyone can wear the mask. In the first movie, a new kid, Miles Morales, is bitten by a spider and becomes a brand new Spider-Man. But all of a sudden, in this movie, they kind of undo that by saying, like, oh, he wasn't really supposed to be bitten by that spider, he was basically just became Spider-Man by accident. Now, one may argue that, well, so a lot of that comes from Miguel, who's the antagonist of the film, so yes, it is still about him wearing the mask. To which I say, well, except for the movie, it still shows that, oh yes, it was really the wrong spider that bit him, and he really was not supposed to become Spider-Man, so there is some truth to what Miguel is saying. So it just seems like you build up Miles as a brand new Spider-Man in the first movie, only to say, like, oh, he was really not supposed to be Spider-Man by the second movie. Now, funny, I have heard some behind-the-scenes stories of how this could be just meta-commentary on how a lot of fans used to not accept Miles as Spider-Man, so this is them just incorporating that into a Spider-Man story. Which is, clever, but that was literally a decade ago when Miles was first created. I think in the years since, people have become a lot more accepting of Miles, especially with the first movie, and the box office for this movie certainly is evidence for that too. Now, of course, this is only a part 2 of an overall story, and it does look like they're going to spin it into, like, oh, he wasn't supposed to be Spider-Man, but he is Spider-Man anyways. So, that could be all well and good. We will have to see when Beyond comes out. Also, P.S., the whole canon event thing does not really make sense with Miles to me, because Miguel says, yes, let his father die, because Spider-Man has to have a loved one died to be his canon event, when didn't Miles already have a loved one die with Uncle Aaron? So, why can't that be his canon event? Anyways, I'm open to discussion on this topic, so let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below.